So we have our class, and I'm going to delete some of these constructors here only because we do not need all of them. So the next thing that a class has is called the class variables. Class variables can also be called attributes, depending how you use them. So for this class, for now, we're going to have two variables: private string player name, another private int player health. Now notice that they're private because if they're private, then the main or the client's program cannot access them. If they were public, then the main would be able to access them. So let's make a test right now. So now they're private, and if I want to access those variables, I'll access by the dot notation. So p dot, and if you notice that name is not here, it's not here in any of these options. Because of that, you're not going to be able to access them. So one way to solve this is to change from private to public, and then now player name, the variable player name, can be accessed. So p dot player name, it's right here, and then you can give it a value, Grievous. Now this is not wrong, there's nothing wrong with doing that. However, it is a good programming practice not to have the class variables as public. Sometimes it's okay depending on what you're doing, but let's not have it for this class, okay? So I'm gonna make this private again, and then once I do private, if I try to compile this code, then it gives me an error because this variable, this class variable, now is a private. I cannot access that. So how do we access a class variable if it's private? So we can access by what's called the getters and setters. And those are functions that will let you access these guys. So the function is going to be public and void set player name, and this function will receive a string as parameter, and that's going to be the name. And what it does this dot player name equals name. So let's take a look on this. So what it says here is that this, and the word this means it's referring to a variable within this class, and so this, your only two options are player name and player health. So this is a reference to this class, and player name, which is the class variable, is going to get the value that you pass as a parameter, and the value is name. So now I can access p dot set player name, and I have to pass a string as a parameter. And I'm going to pass here the string Grievous. Now this is perfectly fine. If I compile, if I build, no problem, 0 errors, just one warning. And the warning is because we're not using one of the variables, and we will pretty soon. So what if I want to read the variable? Well, if I want to read the variable, because it's private, I cannot read, So I'm going to create another function called public string, because I want to return a string, and get player name. This function does not receive any parameter, and because the returning type is a string, I must return something, so I'm going to return this dot player name. So now I have one function that sets the name, one function that gets the name. So back to the main program, I set the name here, but what if I want to get the name back? Very simple. P dot get player name, and that will get the player name. So if I run this program now, Grievous, it prints Grievous. So again, I instantiate a object called P from player class, and then I use one of the classes, one of the object's function to set the name, and then I use another function to get the name. So very useful. And you can do the same thing with, oops, we did not create the setters and getters for the player health, so let's do that. So public void set health, and we're gonna have a int health, and this dot player health equals health. And now we need to call the getter, so public int get health, and this return this dot player health. Now if we do that, now back on the main, I can set the health, and the health I'm gonna set it to 100, and then I can get the health back, and the way I get the health back is p dot get health. So I'm gonna make a little different than I did on line 13 here. I'm just gonna declare a variable. So p health equals, and then I can print p health. So Grievous and 100. And this is how you set values to the class and how you get values to the class.